So, again, the announcements, and for our Facebook viewers who are tuning in, remember that next Sunday is the second Sunday breakfast, and then remember that March 29th will be our next fifth Sunday lunch, and bring your favorite home cooking. All right. I think we're ready. Are you all ready? Ready. All right. See, there's part of the sermon already done. So our title today, what is your why? How many of you remember from English, the old English class, I believe it was 6, what they called interrogatives. 6 questions, who, when, where, what, why, and how. Remember those? Well, the who is you. The when is now. 2026 we're looking at. The where is right here, right where we are, right where you are, your life, right where you are. The why we're going to talk about today. Lord willing, in the future we'll talk about the what and the how. But today we want to focus on the why. Why is one of the first words we learn. You know that? Besides mama and daddy and all of that. Has Aspen started asking why? Not yet? Give it a little bit. That day will come. Why? And with kids, little kids, our kids, grandkids, the neighbors' kids, the strangers' kids, man, they can ask that word why till you're blue in the face. And you can give them a reason. And they say, well, why? So that's one of our first words. It is a human word, but it is also a spiritual word. And I want us to think about that. We, when I say we, I'm talking about me. We ask that question, why, and we want to rush into the answer. We want to know why, Lord, and we want to know that answer right now. The Bible itself honors the word why. It really does. The word why occurs 260 some times in the Bible. Job, remember Job? The guy that suffered all of that, he lost everything, and then his health, and man, he went through all kinds of suffering, and the Bible talks about the patience of Job, and yet he asked why 14 times. You thought you asked why a lot. David, in the Psalms record the question why. Many times it's to God. Ask the question why about 19 times. Jesus asked the Father, why this? So it is a word that God actually listens to. Why do I ask the word why? I mean, you can say, well, I'd like to know why. But why do we ask the word why? Well, because, one reason is because we are purpose and meaning seekers. We're seeking our purpose. We're looking. And what is the purpose of this? And we want meaning to our lives. And we want meaning to the thing. And so we're asking, Lord, why? What's this got to do with me and my life? It's also it allows us to connect to something larger than we are. Why? Why this, or why that, or why should I continue? Why should I do this? What's my purpose? What's my meaning in life? We realize that there's something bigger than just our life going on. And then we can realize in those dark hours, difficult times, or times of decision that we're trying to determine what we're to do, we can realize that there must be more. There must be more than this moment. This moment of pain, this moment of sorrow, this moment of question, this moment of looking for direction. There's got to be more than just this moment. The scripture we're going to look at is found in the book of Ruth, chapter 1. You're probably familiar with this event. It's actually talking about several people here in the book of Ruth. Ruth is the main character, but we're introduced to a lady named Naomi in chapter 1. And her name basically means pleasant. It really means sunshine. Sunshine. You ever see these people that are sunshiny? You ever, sometimes you nickname, there goes sunshine. Here comes sunshine. Boy, they're just bright and smiley and happy and bouncing and full of life and all of that. And man, they're just sunshine, and they bring sunshine to you. Well, that's what Naomi's name means. If you're familiar with the story, and I'm just going to quickly summarize it, her and her husband and 2 sons moved from the land of Israel, from Bethlehem, which means the house of bread, and they moved into a foreign country, a country that basically hated the Jews in essence, but moved to Moab. Well, things didn't go much better there. The husband dies, and a few years later, and after that, the 2 boys grow up, they get married, and then shortly after that, they die. So now Naomi is left, no husbands, no sons, place that didn't like them, didn't want them. You ever been there? And her 2 daughters-in-laws. So we're going to pick up in verse 11, okay? Now, she looks at the daughter-in-laws and she says, I'm going back home. I'm going back to Bethlehem. I've got family. I've got friends there. I'm going back. But you girls need to just stay, and this is your home, this is your country, these are your people. And so she says to them in verse 11, we're picking up in verse 11, and Naomi, sunshine, says to them, turn again, my daughters. They wanted to go. Notice why. Why? Turn again, my daughters. Why will you go with me? Are there yet any more sons in my womb that they may be your husbands? Verse 12, turn again, my daughters, go your way, for I am too old to have a husband. If I should say I have hope, if I should say I have a husband also tonight, and should also bear sons. Verse 13, would you tarry for them till they were grown? Would you stay for them from having husbands? Nay, my daughters, for it grieveth me much for your sakes that the hand of the Lord is sore against me. In other words, she's saying to them, look, on a human level, on a logical level, there's no need for you to follow me. There's no need for you to go with me. A lot of times in life, we have to, many times. We have to look at it logically. We have to think about it. We have to look at it from what we see and understand. And that's what Naomi is saying to these girls. This isn't going to work for you to follow me. Verse 14, and they lifted up their voice and wept again, and Orpah, one of the daughter-in-laws, kissed her mother-in-law, but Ruth clave unto her. I mean, she latched on to her. She was not letting go. Verse 15, and she said, Naomi says in verse 15, Behold, thy sister-in-law is gone back unto her people, and unto her gods return thou after thy sister-in-law. Remember, it's just not, I don't see any hope. I don't see any good thing of you following me. Why? Why would you do that? Okay? And Ruth said, verse 16, and Ruth said, Entreat me not, the King James says, or don't ask me to leave you, or to return from following after you thee, for where you go, I will go. And where you lodge or live or dwell, I will lodge. Thy people, your people, shall be my people. And thy God or your God will be my God. Verse 17, Ruth goes on. Where thou diest, where you die, will I die, and there will I be buried. The Lord do so to me, and much more also, if aught but death part thee and me. Verse 18, Naomi, when she saw that she was steadfastly minded to go with her, then she left speaking unto her. So the two went until they came to Bethlehem. And it came to pass when they were come to Bethlehem, that all the city was moved about them, and they said, Is this Naomi? Here's sunshine. Come back to see us. Verse 20, and she, Naomi, said unto them, Don't call me sunshine. Don't call me Naomi. Call me Mara. Bitter is what that means. Call me bitter, for the Almighty hath dealt very bitterly with me. I went out full, she says, and the Lord hath brought me home again empty. Why then call ye me Naomi, seeing the Lord hath testified against me, and the Almighty hath afflicted me? So Naomi returned, and Ruth the Moabitess, her daughter-in-law, with her, which returned out of the country of Moab, and they came to Bethlehem in the beginning of barley harvest. Now, let's talk about Naomi for just a moment. Okay? Sunshine, but she wants them to call her bitter. Here's sunshine going out. And the question, this is one of the questions, why do hard things happen to people? Why do terrible, bad things happen to people? Well, here's Naomi. She looks at this, she's lost her husband, she's lost her son, she's lost all sorts of income and what have you. As far as living a normal life, now she's dependent on anybody around her helping her. She's having to travel back to her home, go back home and start all over again. And she testifies of herself. The Lord has testified against me. He's afflicted me. I'm bitter. I am bitter, she says. Why do things happen like that? She didn't have an answer. But here's something to think about. The absence, I want you to think, we all need to think about this in our own lives. The absence of an answer does not mean the absence of God. Let that sink in. Just because God doesn't give us an answer to why does not mean that God is still not with us. Think about the children of Israel. You know, prior to this, they came out of Exodus. They came out of Egypt. It's recorded in the book of Exodus. And they messed up, and they didn't have faith, and so God has them wander around for 40 years. Now, that's kind of what we see in the Bible. That's what God says. You know, you didn't believe that I could take you into that land and conquer it with you and for you and give it to you. So now you're going to wander around 40 years. Well, that's kind of an answer. But I think God had more than that for an answer. And so even though they walked around for 40 years, and God did not totally explain what he was doing. You know what he was doing? He was teaching them. He was putting them through some experiences where they could learn to trust God. I don't know about you, but I don't have a lot of faith sometimes. You know, I say I do. I believe God. I believe the promises of God. But boy, when put up against the wall, I get a little scared. I get a little anxious. I begin, how's God going to take care of this? How are you going to deliver me out of this? How are you going to, on and on and on? And I realize, I've got great faith when everything's going good. But when it's turned sour, my faith ain't all that great. And I have to ask God, help me to trust you more. Well, that's what the wilderness did. And so he didn't explain everything, but what you do see is he walked daily with them. And no matter what we are going through, he's still there. He may not explain, he may not give us the answer, but he's still walking with us through them. And then, looking at Naomi, even in the midst of all of this, even in the midst of call me bitter, she does not turn against God. She feels like God's punishing her. She feels like God is doing some things in her life and all of that. But she doesn't turn against him. She goes back home. She goes back to the house of bread. She goes back to where God reigns. And so her faith is still there. It may be small, but it's still there. And so faith, when the question why arises, faith helps us not pretend that we understand everything. Do you understand everything? I don't. And faith helps us to get away from pretending like we do. And then, in why hard things happen, why bad things happen, one of the things is it's a bridge. Whatever happens in our lives can do one of two things. It can harden our heart, or it can open our heart. Maybe some of you, in the past, things have happened and it's hardened your heart. Lots of people out there who recognized God at one time, but some things have happened and they allowed it to harden their heart. But my prayer is it can open our hearts and we have that bridge to God. And then, let's go one step further. It is that bridge in our lives to God. And it allows us, we can recognize, I don't see the whole picture, but I'm going to trust in the one who does see the whole picture. And that's the Lord. Now, that's Naomi. And when Naomi asked that question to the two daughter-in-laws, why, she was asking that question of herself. Why? Well, she had an answer. Ruth, let's talk about Ruth for a moment. Ruth has been presented with this question, and what we read in verses 16 and 17 are Ruth's answer to that question, why. Notice, I'm going back to verse 16. Ruth said to Naomi, don't ask me to leave you. Don't ask me to stop following you. For where you go, I'm going. Where you live, I'm going to live. Your people will be my people and your God, my God. But notice verse 17. Where you die, will I die, and there I will be buried. See that next two words? The Lord. Ruth is answering Naomi's question, why. Ruth is answering the why question she has. Why am I going back with her? Why am I going into this, to me now, a strange foreign country? Why am I going to where people don't like me? Or may not like me because I'm a foreigner. She's answering why, and it all has to do with Naomi and her faith in God. Because somewhere in all that happened to Naomi, Ruth saw something more. She saw that little bit of faith. She saw that little bit of trust. And she saw the Lord. And that word is the Hebrew word, we translate it Jehovah. She saw Naomi's God. And she answered this, why? The Lord do so to me, and more also, if aught but death part you and me. So, as we move beyond the why of why bad things happen, let's move into the why am I here? Why is this happening? Whatever, good, bad, or ugly. But why? What's my purpose? What's my meaning? That's a big why. Why do I get up every morning? Why do I go through the day? Why do I do anything with family, friends, whatever? Why do I want to move forward? And that answer has to do with the fact that part of the answer has to do with the fact that you are created. You didn't just happen. You weren't an accident. You were created by God. And because of that, your life and my life had meaning, has meaning and had meaning before I ever or you ever achieved anything, proved anything, or even tried to fix anything. You know, those are the things we want to achieve something, you know. We want to achieve. Growing up as a kid, did you ever get a trophy, you know, for some sport or something? Did you ever get, you know, a blue ribbon or something like that for something you did, you know, things like that? Did you achieve something? Or we want to prove something, you know. We want to prove that we're better than them or stronger than them or faster than them or smarter than them. I was never stronger or faster, but I did kind of like the fact that in some ways I was smarter than other people. You know, and what does that mean? It means I can really take a test well. It doesn't mean that I'm any smarter. I just happen to be able to answer the questions right. That's worth something. But I don't have to prove anything. And I don't have to fix anything. You know, I always want to fix something. My, how many times I've started to fix something and it turned into 10 times more than what, you know, Larry, you understand that flipping some of these houses, you go in and say, wow, this looks pretty simple. Let's just tear into here. And then you get in there and the boards are rotten, the plumbing's bad, everything else, you know. But I want to fix something. Michelle likes to talk to me. Can you believe that? And boy, she'll just start talking about something and pouring her heart out. And I'll say, well, if you do this, and if you do that, if you do something else, you can fix this. She told me pretty early on, she said, I don't want a solution. I just want you to listen to me. So the truth is, when God created you, He has a plan. He has the answer to why. And we don't have to fix anything, achieve anything, prove anything. God is going to use us. And so, we can ask ourselves sometimes, why do we keep going? Whatever may come about, whatever is ahead, some of you are getting older. Have you noticed that? Some of you are getting older. I don't know if you've noticed, but this morning I'm having a little trouble with my back. I'm not just jumping up and running up these stairs. And I did something and I just, my muscles, what do you call it, spasm or something. It'll hopefully end, I'm sure. So we're all getting older, is my point. And sometimes we reach that point and we say, why go on? Now, I don't think any of us have reached that. But there's people on Facebook that are watching that are in nursing homes or are home fast because of they can't get around, whether it's partly their mind or their body or whatever. And, sometimes people in nursing homes especially, why keep going? Why keep on? I can't get around like I used to. I don't think like I used to. Why? Well, here's some reasons for all of us to keep going. One, your story is not finished yet. Your story is not finished. Another one, today's confusion. Are you confused? Sometimes. Today's confusion may become tomorrow's testimony. What you're facing right now that you can't understand, you can't see a reason for, or you can't see any future for you, that, what you're facing right now, tomorrow that may be your testimony. You may be able to stand up and say, God took care of that, and He did something. And then, why, remember this, why is the soil where trust grows? If you don't get an answer to the question why, trust and let that grow. And then finally, the best answer to why may not be a reason, but a relationship. So sometimes I ask the Lord, why? And the answer may not be, well, here's the reason. Maybe I don't even need to know the reason. The reason may have nothing to do with it. It may be my relationship with God through the Lord Jesus Christ. What is your why? Trust God. Get up every day. Take that step and let God take care of the rest. May we stand.